Okay. Yeah, I don't know how to start this episode. I don't know if this should be a positive episode. I don't know if this should be a negative episode, maybe somewhere in between. It usually lands somewhere in between with this team because anytime you get bad news, you get a big win. And that's what happened today. We got bad news on Randle, and then we get a big win against the Kings. Excuse me for all the voice cracks and the stuttering. It's 12:30 past midnight now, so I'm tired, and I'm trying to get this episode out before tomorrow because there's a back-to-back for the Knicks. They have Chicago tomorrow. But episode 658 of the podcast, Knicks Kings, this will, I shouldn't even say it because every time I say it's going to be a shorter episode, it's not. But it'll there's one theme. There's just one theme in this episode that I'm going to focus on. So it might not be super short. Might be usual time. Maybe it is a little shorter. Who knows? We'll see where it goes. But there's two themes. We're going to talk about Randle, and then another chapter of this episode, we're going to talk about Mike Brown's horrendous defense in the second half of this game because I just found it very amusing. So that's what we'll be discussing here in Knicks Kings, episode 658 of the podcast. Let's get into it. BD4, episode, once again, 658. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. You are listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. Let's get to it.
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
The Yankees are champions of baseball. Shaking and baking. Right here on the neophyte.
You guys trying to close the show.
She was doing a great job of feeding.
That is
It's over.
Don't you regret not coming to the Knicks? Don't you regret not coming to the Knicks?
Game over. World Series over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
Okay, where do we begin? Let's just jump right in. Earlier this morning, I got a text from one of my buddies saying that, let's see, the exact thing he said. There goes Randle. There goes Randle. So I figured exactly what we all expected, I think a lot of us expected, I should say, to come was that Randle will not be returning, and he is opting for season-long surgery, season-ending surgery, because that shoulder that he dislocated back in late January is not good enough for him to return. Doctors told him that if he does return, he is risking permanent damage to that shoulder, and when he was taking contact with pads, I think I read that he re-aggravated it and it made things worse. This was back in February. And so it's now official, completely official, that Julius Randle is done for the 2024 season. First and foremost, before I get my stupid opinions out of the way, let's get one thing straightened first. I wish nothing for the best for Julius. Nothing but the best for Julius. I just feel for the guy, man. Julius Randle, the human being, it's got to suck. You know, this guy is a warrior's warrior. Like, he is... This guy busts his ass for this city. He wants to be on the court more than anybody else. And for him to just give it a go, for him to say, you know what, It's not pretty, and you have to think that in the back of his mind, he knew that it's probably not going to be the best thing. And the fact that he still wanted to give this thing a try, and he still trained for months to try and rehab and get back out there on the court with his guys, you got to respect that. So I commend that. And I feel for him because now he's going to miss the rest of the year, and now he's got to get surgery, and no one likes going under the knife, and he's not going to be there for his team in the postseason. It just sucks for him. So I wish nothing but the best for him and his family during this time. They are very invested in his career. You know, he's brought in his wife and kids to the game. They're there at the Garden all the time, and it's got to suck. So I wish nothing but the best. I'll say that for a third time there. And you know what? Nobody should be like, I know Randle has been a polarizing figure here. You know, there are people who do not like him as a player on this team. There are people who very much love him as a player on this team. I find myself, over the years, I found myself bouncing back and forth. Am I pro-Randle, anti-Randle? I'm pro-Knicks. In the last couple of years, I found myself coming around and just realizing Randle's on my team. I'm going to root like hell for the guy. And I thought he's an all-NBA player at the end of the day. Okay? And he gives his all for this team. And the Knicks are better with Julius Randle versus without. There's no question about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say that the Knicks ceiling is still this Western Conference is still this Eastern Conference Finals ceiling, right? They're not making the third round now. I think that's out of the window. That was a possibility if everybody was healthy. But now you know for sure Julius is not coming back. And the other two, or I guess OG Anunoby, the other one, is still in question to return. I expected this news. This was nothing that shocked me. I totally expected this. I said at best, I expected Julius to come back if he did in the second round. But I didn't feel like even if he came back, he would be effective because he's a physical post player who, even though it's not his shooting shoulder, he uses that right shoulder to create separation on the post. And I just felt like missing over 2 months, coming back all of a sudden and getting back to that bruiser style wasn't going to be easy, especially against a playoff defense where they know you have a shoulder issue. They're going to make you use that shoulder and they're going to exploit you. You know, if you play the Miami Heat, you damn well know they're going to go after it and play dirty because that's the scumbag swamp rats they are. But, you know, it does suck because now you know this team is probably a first round or second round exit. They can maybe win a first round depending on the matchup they get. But the 3 seed, although they are a half game out at the moment, it's kind of hard to see the Knicks landing that with this current team. And that means that unless they drop to 6, which is a possibility now, they're going to be on Boston's side of the bracket. If they're 4 or 5, that means if they get past the first round, they will most likely, bearing an upset, be facing Boston in the second round. So I don't think that that Eastern Conference Finals run is possible anymore. I think there's a ceiling on this team without Julius Randle. Absolutely. This guy and his ability to create offense, you put him on the post, he draws 2, kicks to the perimeter, swing, 3-point shot. Him and Brunson working, that 2-man action together. Brunson relocates on the corners after he dumps it off to Julius on the post, right? Randle and Mitchell Robinson working that 4-5 pick and roll together to get Julius going downhill. Julius has developed a really good chemistry with Dante DiVincenzo in DHO offense. And he gives you the 25 points himself, Like, he creates offense for himself and others, and then he gets you 10 rebounds. The guy has just been a warrior for this team, so it sucks that he's down, and now the Knicks are looking at a lesser expectation for the remainder of the season. Hopefully, he gets the surgery very soon, so he's ready by camp 2025. I would hate for him to miss even more time at the start of next season, but I expect the Knicks to get the surgery soon. It just sucks because I knew this in the back of my mind. I just had a feeling everybody was like, wait till the Knicks get healthy. Wait until they get healthy. They'll be fine once they get healthy. And I'm just sitting here. I'm like, why are you all assuming they're just going to get healthy? Things like this never go well. And everybody's sitting there just acting like it's easy as like it's black and white. Like, okay, just wait your time. You come back when you're healthy after time's up. No, that's not how it works. You have to rehab properly. You can't get re-injured. There are reevaluation periods to where it's never going as planned. It just never felt like we were ever going to get the full version of this team again. The January Knicks, that was it. That was the last time this team was full. So, it changes some things. You know, OG Anunoby is going to be playing some more 4 in lineups where Hart will be at the wing, and then you'll have a center at 5. I would love to see what he looks like there. Bojan Bogdanovic may have just found himself into the playoff rotation. Don't know how I feel about that. You know, but all that stuff we might save for another day. I just wanted to get this off the bat. You know, Julius, heal up, man. You know, just I wish nothing but the best. And I'm excited to see you back on the court next year. Also, fuck the Miami Heat. So, with that said, we will get to this game where the Knicks won against the Sacramento Kings tonight, 120-109. Let's do that when we return from our first break here on the podcast, episode 658 of BD4.
Hey there, thanks for listening in so far. If you enjoy this episode, please give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much. You can follow us on social media as well. On Instagram, we're at BD4Pod and at Rob J. Carbone. On X, we're at BD4Pod and at RJCBD4. And on Facebook, we're BD4.
All right, welcome back to the show. Episode 658 of the podcast. Thanks for tuning into BD4 so far. Yeah, the Knicks beat the Kings 120-109 tonight. I was out with the family in the first half, so I saw most of the game. It was on the TV at the bar, but it was from a little bit of a distance, so I wasn't, observing as closely as I usually do. It wasn't in my environment where I get to study every play like I usually like to do. But I saw enough. The Knicks were bricking a lot of shots early. They went down by as many as 21 points. Second quarter comes around. The defense got them back into the game. Brunson hits a late 3 at the end of the first half, and the Knicks are within 8 points, 60-52. Third quarter comes. You got a very high pace out the gate. Deuce McBride's knocking down threes. Josh Hart has a huge third quarter. He comes alive in the second half. Donte DiVincenzo, big shots throughout the third quarter. He gives the Knicks the lead late. It's 87-87 after 3. Fourth quarter, Bojan Bogdanovic gets hot, and then the Knicks start exposing Sacramento's defense. Brunson's working the short roll. We will talk about that. A little bit of isolation. We'll talk about the Brunson thing. And the Knicks win 120-109. Brunson, 35 points to lead the team. Hart leads with 9 rebounds. Brunson finishes with 11 assists to lead the team. He also leads the team with 3 steals. And Donte DiVincenzo and Mitchell Robinson lead the Knicks with a block each. Sacramento had Fox with 29, 7, and 7 with 3 steals and 6 threes. Keegan Murray finished with 18 points and Domantas Sabonis with 17 and 11. I want to bring up the one theme that we're just going to discuss here about this game. I don't know what Mike Brown was thinking, but Mike Brown, he is a good coach. He's a very good coach. And in the first half, he made smart decisions, competent decisions that you would expect him to do. Because with Tom Thibodeau running out reliable with this freaking Hart, Precious, Mitchell Robinson lineup, Mike Brown was, all you need to do is have half a brain to realize, okay, well, let's blitz those Brunson pick and rolls with the Hart, Precious, Mitch lineup. Because it's going to leave Jalen with no outlets to hit. It's much easier to rotate backside with 0 threats because you could help off. So I don't know why Tom Thibodeau went with that lineup, Hart, Precious, and Mitch next to Brunson. But the Kings got everything they wanted defensively with that early on in the game. Fortunately, Tom Thibodeau adjusted, and in the second half, he took out Precious. He removed him completely, did not play him for offensive reasons, so Brunson could have that freedom. And for whatever reason, Mike Brown in the second half of this game didn't counter to that adjustment, and he kept blitzing, despite Thibodeau going with the more offensive-minded lineups of putting a spacing wing on the floor, Hart at the 4, and Hart at center. So he had Brunson, Dante, Deuce, Hart, and Hart as the main guys in the second half. So with more shooting and spacing on the floor, Brunson off the blitz was able to hit the pocket. And that allowed Josh Hart and Hart to create 4-on-3 in the short pick and roll off the blitz. Help comes off the wings. Well, Hart and Josh Hart are going to hit the corners, the open shooters. Or if the defense stayed home, Hart or Josh Hart would attack the basket to score. Hart would go to his floater. Josh Hart would go to his drive. The Knicks were forcing the Kings in rotation off the blitz because they had the numbers advantage. I don't know why Mike Brown kept blitzing there. It just allowed the Knicks to create so much off the short roll. And he finally stopped with like 4, maybe 5 minutes left in the game. He finally adjusted coverages. He tried going one-on-one, but Brunson would get past the defender and into the paint and he'd score. He tried to switch the action, but if he switched it, it really didn't matter because Brunson still got past the ISO defender. He tried bringing late help, but Brunson would just shoot over that. There was one possession where Brunson in the fourth quarter knocked down a 3 from about 30 feet over a double team. It was really mind-boggling to see happen. But yeah, like Mike Brown should be player of the game for the Knicks because of his defensive coverages in that second half. And with that said, before we hit record on this podcast, I did a little bit of a pre-recording and I went over a little film session. And I want to get to that right now where we show a lot of these second half possessions where the Knicks were able to create offense off of the blitz because of Mike Brown being idiotic. So we're going to transition to that right now. We're going to get to these, I wouldn't say film sessions. I didn't really dive too deep into the X's and O's, but just basic explanation and analysis here of some of these second half possessions. So we'll get to that as soon as we get back here from our second break. Stay with us here on episode 658 of BD4.
If you're interested in our website, just go to www.bd4blog.com. You can subscribe to our blog on there right on the front page. Just like on the podcast, we cover Yankees, Knicks, and MMA. Also on our website are the links to the different platforms for the podcast. Thanks so much.
Okay, so once again, like I said, we are going to transition into a little bit of a film session now. Before we hit record on this episode, we went over some of the second half possessions and just gave some analysis on what Mike Brown was doing defensively and how the Knicks were able to put on a clinic on how to beat a blitz. So let's get to this little film session where we went over about 9 or 10 possessions in the second half. Hope you guys enjoy this. Once again, it's a little bit of a film session of the second half where we're just picking apart Mike Brown's defensive coverage in the second half on the Knicks that they were able to expose. Let's get right to it. Okay, so here's the first of many disastrous possessions for Mike Brown. Brunson's coming up to the court here. Hart here is going to set the screen, and he's going to roll. As soon as he slips the screen, you see Domantas Sabonis, number 10, the screener's defender. He's going to bring help onto Brunson with whatever this dude's name is, number 23, Keon Ellis. He's going to help onto Brunson, and because of that, as soon as Hart slips the screen here and rolls, Brunson hits him with the pocket pass, and then Josh Hart, who is on the weak side corner at the moment, he's got a wide open lane because of Hart's gravity on the roll. Josh Hart's man is way down in the low paint, helping onto Isaiah Hartenstein. Trey Lyles, I'm pretty sure that's Trey Lyles, who would normally be here. Right, I don't have a cursor with me, but he would normally be on Hart. But Isaiah Hartenstein's a threat off the short roll. So he's got a help on him, and that leaves Josh Hart open, cutting from the short corner, gets the reverse finish and one. Again, you're going to see many different occasions where the Knicks bite the Kings off of a double, a blitz, and that was just one of them. Here's another one. Josh Hart's going to hand it off to Jalen Brunson up top. Brunson's going to draw two. There's Sabonis helping onto Brunson. And now Hart has the roll. Brunson's going to hit the pocket here. And because, once again, of Isaiah Hartenstein's gravity on the roll, you're going to see 4 Kings defenders swarming him, which is leaving both the weak side and strong side corner open. So Hart has 2 options here to hit Dante weak side, or he can go to Deuce McBride left open because De'Aaron Fox is helping off him strong side, and he hits Deuce. Deuce knocks it down. Another instance of Brunson being doubled and finding the outlet in pick and roll. Here, watch Deuce McBride on the weak side corner. He's going to come up to the action. His man, Sasha Vezenkov, is going to tag him. But then Brunson goes right. Sasha's going to double again. Here's the blitz. 2 on the ball. That leaves Deuce McBride open in the pocket. Brunson hits the pocket, and with so much space in front of him and 3 defenders down around the block, Deuce is just going to pull up and knock down the 3. Another instance of the Knicks burning the Kings off the trap, off the blitz. This time again, Hart's going to screen. They trap up top on him, and now Brunson's just going to wait it. Finally finds a pocket to hit Hart on the short roll here. And this time, Sacramento decides not to help off the wings because they don't want to be burnt on the corners again. So they decide to go straight up here with Trey Lyles in the middle of the paint. And what Hart just decides to do is go right to his floater. And so the Knicks, once again, burning the Kings here off of the blitz. Okay, so here you're going to see the Kings decide to stay with Hart on the roll. They're going to keep Sabonis on the Hart roll, but the Knicks do call Josh Hart up to screen, so they get their guard-to-guard screen. However, Sacramento once again blitzes the action, so Hart is left open in the pocket. Brunson's going to hit Hart here. Hart attacks with his drive, finishes another and one. And once again, folks, the Knicks beating the Kings here off the blitz. Now, this one's pretty simple, but I find it very amusing. You're going to see Josh Hart's man decide to just go with a soft double. He's right here. He's on Hart, but he decides late to double on him on Brunson, and Brunson just decides to pull up from 30 feet, knock down the 3. So they tried everything, but can't really stop Jalen Brunson. Here we have another very amusing, very funny possession where Sacramento just goes one-on-one. They try putting length onto Brunson here with number 23, Keon Ellis, in isolation. Brunson's going to take him, and he gets inside to the paint. Once Brunson gets past you and gets into the paint, the second he gets 2 feet into the paint, you're cooked. Because he's going to that mid-range, and he's going to throw up that floater, and he's so good at using his core strength to create a basket for himself. Now here you're going to see the Kings try and switch it. They're going to switch the action by putting number 13. They're going to switch number 13, Keegan Murray, off of Dante onto Brunson. So Brunson's just going to take him ISO, and you don't want to do that because here, watch, this is funny. De'Aaron Fox on the right elbow there is going to stunt that Jalen real quick. So Brunson's going to fake right. And then if you bite when Brunson fakes right, he's just going to attack your front foot. And the second you let him attack your front foot and get by you, again, you are fucked because he's getting into this mid-range area and he's going to that floater. This one's a good one. This is the last one here. Jalen Brunson's up top. Josh Hart has Harrison Barnes on him. Harrison's a little above the left elbow there. Barnes is going to completely abandon Josh Hart. Which, okay, if you want to leave Hart open for 3, you know he's not a threat there, fine. But you have the entire lane is open for Josh Hart. So they're going to blitz onto Brunson here. They're going to double up top. Brunson's obviously going to hit Josh Hart wide open on the empty side here. He hits him. Josh Hart on the nail here. Plenty of space with Sabonis on Hart. And then Josh Hart just goes with the floater. I mean, Mike Brown should have been credited with at least 10 assists for the Knicks there in the first half. Head coach of the Kings, Mike Brown. So I don't know, man. I don't know. This coverage here was Barnes being stupid, but these coverages in the second half, choosing the blitz, the majority of these possessions was just so mind-boggling to me. Okay. So that was our little film session. A couple minutes there just breaking down about, I think it was 9 different possessions. It was very curious to say the least by Mike Brown. But again, Jalen Brunson is such a good scorer, so you have to find a coverage. It's so difficult to find a coverage when he's in pick and roll. You probably prefer, like Draymond said, going in isolation on him because that's probably where he's weakest. But if you're trying to find a coverage to defend a Jalen Brunson screen and roll, he's going to beat you if you drop, because if you're in a drop, he'll reject the screen, take you out of the action, or he'll just attack the lane that you give him in front of him, and he'll go to his floater. He'll pull up for a jumper, But if you blitz, he's become such a patient and composed passer that he'll wait until the roll man shifts into open space, and then he'll hit him with the pocket pass. Man, he's just become such a good dynamic player, and that you could see the passing development in his game this season has stood out so much. He was not like this last year. So, yeah, man, it was good offense the Knicks were able to create to score their 120 points. And with that said, Josh Hart is getting the game ball with his big performance tonight. If I can find the right graphic, I'll pull it up here on YouTube. By the way, if you're watching or if you're listening to the podcast version of this show, the audio-only version of the show on Apple or maybe you're on Spotify and you don't have the video in front of you, that film session was kind of useless. You probably could have just skipped over it. Maybe you did in the timestamps down below. But Josh Hart getting the game ball from the starting unit.
Bing bang.
I thought he was great. 31 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. 2 steals, shot 74% from the field, 14 of 19, and he was 75% of the line, 3 out of 4. He was great. Josh Hart doing Josh Hart things. This was one of his better games. In the first half, some rough offensive moments for him, just times where he wasn't even looking at the basket, Josh Hart stuff. But he provided such great defense in that second quarter to help the Knicks get back into the game. They were more in sync. And then the second half comes and he was massive. He had an incredible third quarter, working in transition. Fourth quarter, he was excellent, working in, again, the short pick and roll with Jalen. Great game from Josh Hart, 31, 9, and 8. Almost had another triple-double, but 31 points. I'm pretty sure that's the highest he has scored this season, maybe as a Knick. But great game for Josh. Going to the bench unit, Bojan Bogdanovic. We're going to give it to him. 12 points on 71%, 5 for 7 from the floor, and 67%, 2 for 3 from 3. He's been a little better lately, right? He's the one Detroit guy who's shown some life since coming here. He hit some big shots in the second quarter to help the Knicks offense get back in it. And his defense is still absolutely abysmal and leaves a lot to be desired. And some of the bad decision-making on the offensive end, too. It's just so clueless, but we'll give him a break. Him and Mitch were very adequate off the bench tonight. So I thought Bojan Bogdanovic should get a game ball. And with that said, we'll go to our last portion of the show. When we return from break, we'll talk about the standings. And then after that, we'll wrap it up with our trivia. And that will be that. But let's talk about the standings. Let's do a bit of a standings check when we get back from our final break here on the show. Or our second to last break here on the show. Studio 69 Productions is a podcast production agency created by Leo Rodriguez to allow content creators to market their podcast. It's an online platform that will market your podcast or any other project that you're working on. Get in touch with Leo Rodriguez from Studio 69 Productions. You can find Studio 69 Productions on Instagram at Studio69NJ. Studio 69 Productions, where dreams are heard and born. Okay, so it's getting interesting. The only team that matters for the Knicks that play tonight were the Miami Heat, who are currently a play-in team, which is hilarious. They lost. They lost to the Philadelphia 76ers, who just got Joel Embiid back. And with that loss, that leaves them 3 games back of the 5th place Knicks, in 7th place the Heat. But the Knicks, with this win, 45-31, the same record as the 4 seed Magic, but since the Magic have the tiebreaker, they're ahead and the Knicks are 5. But the Magic play the Hornets tomorrow. Cleveland does not play tomorrow. So even if Orlando wins, if the Knicks beat the Bulls tomorrow, they move up to 4, as Orlando would move to 3. The Knicks are only a half game from 3. So you never know. That would be huge. You have the 3 and you avoid Boston for a while. But yeah, I'm looking right here. You got Orlando, Charlotte tomorrow. Miami plays Houston. Indiana plays OKC. And let's see how many games back they are. Let's just review it one more time. Okay. Cleveland's 3rd place. They're a half game above the Knicks. Orlando's in 4th place. They host they hold the tiebreaker. The Knicks are in 5th place, 2.5 above Indiana at the 6th seed. 3 full games above Miami in the play-in 7 seed, and 3.5 from Philly, the play-in 8 seed. They play Chicago tomorrow, who are the 9 seed, but they are a ways away and they don't matter. So that should be a win. They have Chicago 3 times in these final 6 or 7 games that we have. So that is a big opportunity for the Knicks to keep winning and maybe, just maybe, get a 3 seed. I kind of lost hope with it after the Randle news today, but you never know. You know, it's 3 games against a team that you really should be able to beat. There are a couple other games you think the Knicks can take, and then there are some tough ones. You got Boston, you have Milwaukee. I think you have Philly once more. I'm not sure. But yes, that's it. The Knicks are. It's a different feeling, without Julius, and so again, like I said at the top of the show, my expectations as far as this season goes, kind of tempered now. I'm back into, can we get to the second round? Which is so unfortunate because this team had a chance to make the third round, make the conference finals. But we still have to see what's up with OG Anunoby. It seems like from everything I'm hearing that it's just precautionary and they prefer to save him for the playoffs. OG says he wants to come back to get a game or two under his belt beforehand, but we'll see what happens there. That's it though. We are about 35 minutes in, so we'll call it here, get to our final break, wrap it up with our trivia, which is an open-ended question in this one. So stay with us here. Episode 658. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Thanks for listening to BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA, Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion.
Seconds. We'll be back in a few seconds. We are back. Let's wrap it up with our trivia. Okay, like I said, an opinionated question today, not really a trivia. How far do you think the Knicks can go without Julius Randle this season? That's our question. How far do you think the Knicks can go without Julius Randle this season? Let me know the answer wherever you can reach me. Folks, that's it. Episode 658 is in the books. I will see you in 659 when we're talking Knicks Chicago Bulls. That's at the Garden. And, we'll be doing Yankees this weekend, of course. Yankees opening day begins tomorrow for the Yankees. Opening day in the Bronx. Stroman's on the mound. That'll be fun. So we'll be wrapping up this Toronto series after the weekend. We'll record an episode and get that out. But as for Knicks fans, I'll see you in 659 where we'll do Knicks Bulls. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate it as always. I'll see you in the next show. This episode was brought to you by Anchor.
Hey there! If you stayed the entire way through, we thank you immensely for it. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and that you come back for the next episode real soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, download these episodes, and share them with your friends as well. BD4 is a 5-star podcast simply because of you. And we'd like to keep it that way. Have a wonderful day. Go Yankees and go Knicks.